Matt Donald has been impressive up front as well. Tim Donnelly having a very good second match of the tournament, and Sam Payne with 2 tries. Also coming to the fore very strongly against Wales. USA, Alexander Magleby, the red-haired forward, is a very effervescent youngster. Matt Cain has used his height and strength to great effect so far with 2 tries. And Jovesa, watch out for him, Jovesa Naivalu. He'll play on the wing. He's a Fijian, and he's a real greyhound. With me in commentary is Keith Quinn.
Ian Hyde-Lay is the referee, Gordon, so we're in for a good game here and looking for Australia to lift it up a little bit further after their first win against Hong Kong and their second win against Wales. Hoping to do good things here.
So Ian Hyde-Lay, the man in charge, and Australia. So they get an early penalty here. That's Jovesa. He's represented Fiji at the Commonwealth Games and also at the Olympic Games as a hurdler. He's a fabulous athlete, and he can't be given any daylight at all. So the Australian lineup without Richard Graham, the captain, who's hoping to return tomorrow. He has a cork knee and also a thigh strain, and he was outstanding in the very first match against Hong Kong. Tim Donnelly then, going for territory that time and taking play up to halfway. So that's big Matt Cain. He's the tallest man on the field, standing at the front, number 3. Dan Raven, who scored a couple of scorching tries against Hong Kong, and Magleby gets it. So this United States team has gained in confidence after beating Hong Kong 19-0. They went down to Samoa 49-19. It's a scrum feed here for the American Eagles. They're coached by John McKittrick, who is the coach of the New Zealand North Harbour NPC Championship Sevens team. He's been lent by the New Zealand Rugby Union, and this is a breakout try here. Ed Carter has scored the first try of the match. Now that came against the run of play because the USA had possession, but again they made life difficult for themselves, Keith.
This man who came in late to the Australian team, making the most of a well open field ahead there, but certainly yes, the tide of the game was swinging in the early stages away from Australia, but that's what sevens is all about. And so we now see the familiar figure of Tim Donnelly to try and add the 2 points, as we see Ed Carter almost like he didn't quite believe that it was all going to happen. Almost half expected there was going to be callback for some misdemeanor.
Well, he plays fullback for Sydney University, and Donnelly's trying to cool that one in, but it has done it.
Oh, did it?
I thought it went outside.
I thought it went outside too.
What did you think at home? So 7-0 to Australia. They'll take it.
They'll certainly take it. 7-0.
And the Mexican wave has started here in Mar del Plata. And a mistake there by USA. They've given the ball back to Australia. Donnelly now wide to Barton. Scott Barton, a real tough guy in the Australian side. Sam Payne. Cameron Pither out wide. USA holding their defensive line, moving up as one. This is Carter, the try scorer. Malachi got the tackle on. This is Donnelly looking to link up. Williams, Brendan Williams gets Australia second. Well, that was a superb sevens try. Williams didn't score it. Instead, he's given it to Cameron Pither under the post to make sure they get the conversion.
Well, that is a beautifully made try by Australia. That's the best of the day for them. Everybody running hard and fast and linking, starting with the Carter, who's just scored a try, then Donnelly, then Williams here. Williams got over the line, looked like it was all his to add to the scorebook, but then he turns the pass inside to Cameron Pither, and he jogs to the posts for the easy conversion.
Cameron Pither has a match to go in the Japanese National Championship, although it's all over now, I think. Nippon Steel has one more match, and he's coming back to join Warringah. And as an open side flanker, he's a man who could challenge for a Super 12 spot. He's a fabulous player. Big Cameron Pither. He must have impressed you, Keith, on the World Series circuit.
There is no doubt he was one of the most outstanding players on the circuit last year. And I think if you were to add up and select a squad of 12 from all the players, then he would have been one of them included. That's a terrible foul there by one of the Australian players. And someone's been called out. It's the man himself, I think.
Well, lucky not to get a sin bin for that.
That was a heavy fall. Look at that.
It was actually Rob McDonald, I think, who effected the tackle. So mistaken identity there from the referee. So number 4, Jason Raven, scored a couple of spanking tries, as we mentioned, against Hong Kong. Magalby, another who's going to further his rugby education in New Zealand at North Harbour. And this is Joe Vessa. Australians watching him very closely. A loose pass from him. Sim Magalby now looking to link up with Raven. Ball was knocked back. Australians swarming. Now there's an overlap here for United States. Malachi Delai, the US captain, a Fijian by birth. Look at this swarming Australian defence. They're really forcing the United States backwards. And the Australians making sure of those first-time tackles.
Well, the Australians look impressive here. The American team is not one of the strongest sides here, but they have had a win. And they scored a couple of good tries against Samoa, but they just can't shake off the attention of this very tight, aggressive defence from the Australians.
Keith, what about the idea of having only 10 players in the World Cup squad? You have 12 on the World Series circuit. This is putting enormous pressure on all of these squads here.
I totally disagree with it, Gordon. I think that they should have squads of 12 here. Why would they want to make this tournament different to the 10 tournament locations they have in the circuit? This should be at least the same as the tournaments on the circuit.
Well, it means that injuries could well decide the champion team. That's the bottom line. And Kane did very well there. This is Malachi Delai. And some offside play by the Australians as they tried to break out. They lead 14-0. We're right on half-time.
And that American player that went off is, I don't think is going to be back for this game. That was quite a tough gash across his face, above the eyebrow.
So Jason Raven with a good touch finder. Let me eat those words. This is Julian Huxley. Cameron Pither. And a rare mistake by him. This is Raven, a man who has to be watched, but the Australians seem to have done their homework on this US team. And Huxley breaks out. Julian Huxley, who seems to glide across the turf. He's a beautiful mover from the Gordon Club in Sydney. And that'll just about break US hearts as we close on half-time.
Yes, he's one of the quick men around the World Sevens Tour. Didn't feature at all last year. He's just new into the scene this year. And he's a speedster. And very quickly away and comfortably in.
Well, Keith, you've seen a lot of players come through in New Zealand from the sevens into Super 12. Huxley converts his try. You've seen John Rowe, David Croft, Brendan Williams, all advanced from this sevens nursery to get their Super 12 contracts. It's half-time. And Australia 21 leading USA 0.
I think it's due we could take a little bit of a bow, the television people, because it's given players a chance to shine on the TV and for everyone to watch them, and in the rugby fraternity, people to start talking about them, and dare I say it, selectors to watch the videotapes and see the best qualities. This is a great man here, Glenn Allo.
Opposition under pressure. And then slow it down, change the pace, do a variation on Wales, as I said.
Well, we saw him, didn't we, at the Hong Kong Sevens back in the early 80s and through to the late 80s with brother Mark, one of the great all-time Sevens exponents. But what about this Australian defence? Huxley there was up in the paces and he received a free gift, but he also had the speed and presence of mind to finish off. So Julian Huxley, write that name down. He's a guy who's really impressed in this tournament.
Some fairly big cheers going around the stadium for some of the local spectacular sights here, Gordon. Handing out the sponsors' fine products.
There's a few cheers emanating from the commentators' box too. So
cheering for more cold Coca-Cola. It's very hot.
Man of war, Tim Donnelly. He's got his head swathed in bandage, so he went off for a blood bin. And that one didn't go the 10 metres. So Donnelly's been guilty a couple of times, and that's an automatic free kick in sevens. So the USA trailing 21-0 at half-time.
Well, you can count the mistakes they've made on the fingers of one hand. It's pretty efficient Australian performance thus far.
This is Carter. Big block-busting runner, and he spurted straight through the middle. The USA just caught napping, but Carter just pinned his ears back there and said, I'm going straight up the guts, and he did that. And he broke America's hearts. So that's his second try.
You say he's a fullback, Gordon. He looks like he could play on the side of the scrum as well.
Well, he's 100 kilograms, this young man. As you say, he's just been called into the Australian 7 squad. He's replaced McVeary, who's another who's impressed. But he's a product of the King School, famous nursery, the GPS champions in Sydney for the last 3 years, and coached at King's by Rob Edgerton, the former Wallaby winger.
Yes, New Zealanders remember him for a couple of significant victories way back about 10 years ago.
I think he snuck around John Kirwan one day, didn't he, at the Sydney Football Stadium?
Sydney Football Stadium. Didn't he play at Dublin as well?
He sure did. World Cup semi-final, 1991.
Retired far too young, I thought.
Well, he's a great coach now, Rob Edgerton, and involved with Sydney University. So knock on by Australia. 28-0, the Australians over the United States. The Australians are in Pool D with Samoa, Wales, Portugal and Hong Kong, as well as their opponents here, USA.
And give a special cheer for this bloke. He's the guy that's came originally from New Zealand, Gordon. Alan McDonald coming into the game.
Yes, he had a couple of seasons with the Balmain Tigers. Came from Bay of Plenty area, Keith, I think.
Yes, that's right. And he had a couple of games in the circuit for Australia late last season, and he impressed as well.
So the United States, I think, would have conceded they were going to lose this game. This was not one of their target games, but they came through and beat Hong Kong, and they're obviously gunning for the plate competition.
I tell you what, let's have a word to seeing there was a close-up of Ian Hyde-Lay there, the referee. It's a tough schedule for the referees today, isn't it?
It sure is, yes. I think there are only, what, 6 referees?
6 or 7 maybe, and they're doing 30 games. 5 each, hectic pace, hardly any rest.
Mosi Tumoteo is number 10, scrum half. This is Chip Curtis, the Black Hawk helicopter pilot. And again, Williams chiming in. And this is the former Kiwi, Alan McDonald, supported by Rob McDonald and little Brendan Williams. Lovely hands on the ground. The Aussies go wide. Sam Payne hasn't had much to do in this game. Williams now. Donnelly. Payne was in his pockets. And here's Cameron Pither. Should be a formality. And Cameron Pither gets his second try as the Australians clear out to make it a clean sweep in Pool D. They've won all 3 matches as they move on into 2 further matches in their pool tomorrow.
And they are looking better with each outing here at Rugby World Cup Sevens 2001. Hong Kong beaten, Wales beaten, and now USA beaten. Okay, you might not suggest that they are top sevens players, but Australia's performance in the games has increased with proficiency each time, and this is another example of a well-taken try. All the hands were at the ready, took the passes, ran onto them. Teamwork was used in good style, and the try was well taken.
So Huxley is up to 3 tries now. Sam Payne has scored 3 tries for Australia in the tournament, and Cameron Pither picking up 2 in this game. That's Huxley with the restart. McDonald competing again. As re-spotted, a little knock on. 35-0 for the Australian team. So they'll have further pool matches against Samoa and also Portugal. So this is Timoteo, and ball lost forward both ways, so Australian scrum feed and a chance to bring up 40 points here.
Well, don't go away, because the next match is one of the highlights of the first day's play here at Rugby World Cup 2001 Mar del Plata. It's Argentina against Fiji coming up next after this one.
Donnelly trying to burrow in here as Huxley tries to release, but the referee said there were players on their feet entitled to get that ball. This is Curtis. Milikai Delai has been well marked here. McDonald flips it back. There's Huxley again. Alan McDonald on the loop. Back now to Williams. It's Payne, in fact, probing around, and what skill, what vision. Little Sammy Payne gets his... No, it is Brendan Williams. We were right the first time. They're about the same size, and Brendan Williams gets his 3rd try in the tournament.
Yes, another well-taken try. This one from a little kick through, and he's a little guy, swings under the arms of the flailing defender, and there's the bounce for the dive in. Brendan Williams.
Well, he made that look so easy. There was no sweeper for USA, but a flat line defence, and Williams just had that wonderful vision to size up that situation, directed his kick perfectly, and Australia across for yet another try. So 41 plays nil. Comprehensive victory here for the Australians. Carter in for the tackle on De Sorbo. This is Curtis. Best passage from USA. And now Milikai Delai, the captain. Huxley from behind. Big Matt Kane. Can the USA get a consolation try? We will be hearing from Sam Payne very shortly. And Huxley with a nice step off his left foot. Brendan Williams again, the zigzag man. Huxley in support. Alan McDonald.
Get the line.
Williams is everywhere. Donnelly. They just created the overlap. And it's big Ed Carter. He's playing in the front row for the Australian team. And Carter gets his 2nd try. So it's a try fest here in Mar del Plata for the Australian Sevens team.
And they've looked good in this one for sure. The clock is ticking well past the final time in this one, so it looks like the score will close up with the conversion attempt by Tim Donnelly. Ed Carter has looked good. Had no problems running this one in as the other one earlier. And an impressive performance by him. I'm afraid the USA team which looked promising after that win over Hong Kong and the 19 points they scored against Samoa, well shut out here by Australia.
So the attempted conversion from near touch by Donnelly. And that is full time. But certainly an emphatic victory by the Australian team, 47-0. Carter storming in for a couple of tries, so too Cameron Pither. And the Aussies have 2 pool matches to go on day 2.
Stand by, though, for Fiji against Argentina in just a few seconds from now. The next team's out. So let's go down to the sideline now. Our John Macbeth is with us.